Hello, everyone. So, Dehya. Let's talk about her because there's a lot to go over. Let's just get it over with because I already know what I'm going to say. You probably already know what I'm going to say about her. I'm just going to start off with a way that she was introduced in the 3.5 live stream that they hosted last Friday. So to start, the whole entire advertisement of Dehya in the live stream was one big clusterfuck. And this was especially the case when they were showcasing her off-field application with Ganyu in her charge shot, and literally one of the shots did not it didn't melt because the power ore everything just went away and it basically just disappeared. So I don't know how that was allowed to pass in the advertisement side. I don't know who approved of it because that was peak laziness right there. We just need to call it out as it is. That was just lazy on their end. That is something that you really shouldn't overlook, because not only are people now realizing just how not so great her off-field application is, but now it's you're promoting a product, and while you are promoting that product, you are simultaneously contradicting yourself while you are promoting it. And it's especially worse because this is pre-recorded. So you're telling me somebody watched the footage, went over it, decided to put it in, and then it was approved, and nobody had a double what? I have a hard time comprehending how that was allowed, because that did end up causing a lot of commotion, and so that wasn't that great. And then what was even worse was when she was announced to be on the standard banner for 3.6 after her her running patch. Same thing as Tenari has her own patch for one thing, and then she got put on the standard banner. Now I'm very indifferent to her being on the standard banner, but I think the main issue wasn't really whether or not she was on the standard banner in terms of the conversations that are being had about her being on the standard banner, but rather the fact that people were expecting Hoyoverse to actually make genuine changes to her kit, right? But then when it came push to shove, they ended up just putting her on standard banner. So to a lot of people, it feels like they just put her on standard banner as an excuse or a cover-up for the fact that they didn't know how to actually deal with her kit, because they realized after execution that it just wasn't really going to work out the way they thought it would work out. Now that's just how the general conversation had been going. Obviously, there's no guarantee whether or not that was their intention. Me personally, I'm under the belief that they actually wanted her to be a standard banner character from the get-go, because there was no way from day one of leaks and her numbers and everything that she was going to be a flat-out limited 5-star character. There was just no way. There literally was no way that they were going to be a limited 5-star character and just be a same rerunning character like everybody else. It was never going to happen. Her numbers were way too low to be considered for that. Not even just for her damage, but just for her overall defensive utility and her overall value as a character. If I'm gonna be honest, this was kind of something that I didn't expect it, but it did cross my mind a few times when I was thinking about Dehya and I was looking at her stuff and her updates and everything. I was these are literally numbers that I would give to a bare minimum standard character, and maybe even worse. And well, hilariously, that's kind of what she is. She kind of is bare minimum, but then even slightly below that, which is a little concerning to say out loud, but it is true. Now, I do hope this is a Kokomi situation where it starts out that she's not necessary, her kit's not that valuable, yada yada yada, and then eventually in sometime in the future, the next patch or the patch after, or especially in things like Abyss cycles, she starts to find some value with things where damage mitigation, and specifically damage mitigation, not shielding, because especially with the Husk enemies, for example, Husk enemies are very anti-shield, because if you use a shield character against them, they gain their own shield. So there's probably going to be something like that happening, and they introduced new Husk enemies, so that's probably going to be a feature in the Abyss to try and advertise Dehya, I guess, where it's you need some form of damage mitigation, but it can't be a shield or anything. So that would be probably some way that they'll advertise her, but obviously I don't think it will be enough for most people to where it'll convince them that they want to pull for Dehya. And I think even people like me who actually do like Dehya, like I do like her as a character, but liking a character only goes so far when it comes to spending primogems, because we know Hoyoverse is relatively stingy when it comes to giving at least free primogems. Me personally, I am a Vulcan in Battle Pass buyer, so like I get a decent amount and some decent value out of primogems, but it's like even then I still try not to do too much with them, and I still try to conserve them at least enough for like one patch cycle to like pull for someone. And so especially to a free-to-play player or like a relatively low spender who doesn't even like maybe even doesn't really spend on Vulcan or Battle Pass, but only like spends money specifically for certain banners, sometimes people don't just want to pull just for looks, and that is a reality. And what's also a reality is that when it comes to pulling, it is a multi-variable decision, because there's looks and personality, there's kit and design, as well as their overall strength. There's also then actually playing the character, and I think, in my personal opinion, people, when it comes to actually playing the character, that is more important in my opinion than most of the other variables, because you can like a lot of things about a character. Like me, for example, let's say Hu Tao as like an example. Hu Tao is a character that I would say I would probably never pull for ever, and my reasoning why is because she's just not fun to play. I'm not a big fan of her charge attack playstyle. And while I actually do like her as a character, and she's cool, and she's, you know, she's a little quirky, she's camp, she's fun, and kind of creepy, but I like that. She's cool, and she's a cool character overall. But when it comes to actually playing her, I can't stand it, especially at C0. It's not that it's difficult, but like it's just annoying, and I just don't feel like dealing with that when I'm just trying to chill in like overworld or like even in Abyss gameplay. Like I'm not a big fan of her playstyle overall. Plus I already have Yoimiya, so like I don't really need another pyro DPS if I'm gonna be so honest with you. So there's also that to take into account, and that's just one example out of many, and everybody has their own priorities. But I think at the end of the day, a really big one comes to actually playing the character. Now when it comes to Dehya, she does actually look like a character that will be fun to play. Like she actually looks really sick. Like everything about her is amazing. She has a really nice personality, sweet person, love her. She's amazing, really amazing character and character design. I actually think they did a really good job, especially with their recent advertisement and the recent I think teaser that they released for her. Really showcase how sweet of a person she is, and like she showed it before in story quest, but they really highlighted it in this recent teaser. So she is a good character objectively speaking, and then on top of it, her playstyle is really sick. It's really cool. And so it only really came down to the issue being her kit and her numbers, but outside of that, everything else about her, in my opinion, is actually relatively okay. And I think if they gave her at least a decently bare minimum kit that could be at least somewhat on par with other 5 stars, I think she would be pretty okay. And I think this would be somewhat passable. But in her current state, it might just be another Kokomi 2.0, where she won't have any value in the current time and will just be a unit that ends up having some value in the future. But I think even in the future, it won't be as good as like Kokomi, for example, where like Kokomi ended up basically just being meta like overnight type thing. It probably won't be like that. I just think Dehya will have some value and like should be at least somewhat useful for certain things. And of course, none of us work at Hoyoverse, or at least none of us really work directly under, you know, the company or anything. We don't know their plans. We don't know their future development ideas. We don't know anything of the sorts. And as much as we want to make guesses about their intentions and our personal critiques about their decision making, at the end of the day, we don't work for them. We don't know what they have in mind. So I always try to relatively keep an open mind, although I will still give my overall critique that I think their decision for what they did with Dehya was a little bit off, and it could have been executed a little bit better, especially with her bodyguard concept. But I think overall, it was honestly really just the kit. Like honestly, outside of that, they nailed everything. And obviously, if you want to pull for Dehya, you can go ahead and pull for Dehya. Nobody is stopping you. Nobody is restricting you from pulling for Dehya. Now, me personally, I'm making the decision not to, because I just, as much as I like a playstyle and everything, I do have some level of want for a character to be at least somewhat strong, and I just don't really think I either need Dehya, nor do I think that she's that strong to where I really want to pull for her in the first place. but she is a cool character and I do like her, so it's whatever, and it's not that big of a deal. And then of course there's other people who are probably going to pull for her, and they might really enjoy her. And of course you're probably going to see a TikTok in like the next couple weeks showcasing like talent, triple crown Dehya, like doing crazy damage. Whoa, crazy, whoa. This game isn't competitive in any way, shape, or form. Like at the end of the day, after the next week or two, like everybody's just gonna chill out and then we're just all gonna move on to Baiju. Let's just be so honest. All right, that's the end of my little rant about Dehya. I wanted to get it off my chest for a while now, but I really just wanted to wait before I just said anything random. The next video is going to be about Baiju. I'm not going to specifically refer to what exactly I'm doing, but I think it'll be a little bit of fun. It'll be cute. It'll be nice. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully it won't take me another millennia to make another video. And until the next one, bye-bye.